Hello, today we are talking about the Edinburgh Metro, something that I cannot believe I haven't spoken about since it's such a part of everybody's life. I think it's because I try to concentrate on the obscure on this channel that I really don't talk about the blindingly obvious. Anyway, let's talk about quite possibly one of the backbones of the city, the Edinburgh Metro. The Edinburgh Metro was built in stages between 1950 and 60 and is made up of three lines, the red, blue and green lines. It was built because after the war the decision had been made to scrap the trams and close most railways, but it was acknowledged that as Edinburgh expanded, the amount of road traffic would grind the city to a halt. In fact, the amount of traffic jams in any one day can be linked back to problems on the metro. It was an uphill struggle to get the metro built, with central government, car happy as they were, wanting to build single-lane car tunnels for early self-driving cars, but a test of which in Glasgow was deemed so impractical that the whole idea was scrapped. You can still see the remains of this idea between Little France and Cameron Toll, which is a favourite haunt of urban explorers. The first line was the red line built between Little France and New Haven, which was quickly followed by the blue and finally the green line, which almost didn't get built because it was believed that the well-heeled denizens of Burton wouldn't take the metro. The first trains, still fondly remembered, were surprisingly old-fashioned looking affairs, but this was on purpose, as the style-conscious yet conservative city fathers did not like the style of the electric units of the day and instead opted for units based, at least in appearance, on the Liverpool Overhead Railway. These became known by locals as tea rooms, as they reminded people of a respectable little cafe. In 1980, these were replaced, with some protest from locals, with the beehives. The beehives bear a resemblance to the nodding donkeys of Newcastle, and indeed were built by the same people, but ran on a third rail rather than overhead wires. All of this had to earn the metro named a copycat by enthusiasts. A name not helped by the fact that by 2025 the beehives will be replaced with 4-car third rail versions of the South Wales Metro's Class 398s. But what are the stations, I hear you ask? Well, the stations are unique in almost all the world in that they have no dedicated surface buildings, meaning that many of them have been embedded into tenements, old theatres and in the case of Haymarket, existing railway stations, but there are some very interesting examples. Here in Newington is King's Park, formerly known as Queen's Park, formerly known as King's Park. Why all the name changes? Well, that's because the station's name is linked to the gender of the reigning monarch. Let me explain. So when the station opened in 1950, it was called King's Park, for the park that we know as Arthur's Seat. Then, 2 years later, George VI died in the park, and indeed the station was renamed to Queen's Park. Then, as we all know, in 2022, Queen Elizabeth died, and the station, along with the park, was renamed to King's Park. This fact is so well known that since 2018, in celebration of Pride Month, the station flies the non-binary pride flag in reference to the fact that its name is linked to the gender of the monarch. By far the busiest station on the network is the Tron, where all three lines converge, and there are several interesting things about this station. First, it's said this was where the Act of Union was signed in what was then a basement. This isn't true. What maybe is true is that the station is considered not merely the most haunted in Edinburgh, not just in Scotland, but the whole world. However, what I can definitely confirm is that the station was in fact more than just a station, but a bomb shelter. Because the metro network is built into volcanic rock and is in places very deep, many parts of it were, and dare I say still are, earmarked as bomb shelters in case of a nuclear explosion. Green Line platforms even have a door that leads to a massive chamber where the great and good of the city would take shelter in case of a nuclear attack. The Soviets knew of this and targeted two of its largest bombs on the crossroads in an attempt to cripple Scotland by scoring a direct hit. Botanic Station is very unusual in the sense that it has two exits. One here, but also one in the gardens themselves. The garden exit is placed here in this cottage to allow for a quicker entry into the garden from the metro, making it unique in the world as the only metro station in a botanical garden. There's a lot to cover with the Edinburgh Metro, so maybe I could turn this into a whole series. Either way, keep your eyes peeled for things on the metro.